Welcome to this Tom's Tech Notes video. This is the third video of the Video User's Guide for PowerDirector. This video shows PowerDirector settings recommended for editing. The User's Guide is in playlist How to Edit Videos with PowerDirector 19. There are currently 12 videos in the User's Guide, and more may be added later. The first 7 videos should be watched in order from the playlist. The others can be watched as needed. This web page describes all videos currently in the User's Guide. It gives the name, description, and the latest revision date for each video. There are links to the web page and the playlist in the video description. There's also a link to the playlist at the end of this video. Here are the settings I recommend for PowerDirector. Click View. Make sure you're set to Timeline mode. If you want information on Storybook mode, check the online User's Guide. Click Edit and Aspect Ratio. Verify that the aspect ratio is set to 16:9. That's the ratio width to height of your videos, and that's the ratio that YouTube likes. If your video is not 16:9, YouTube will put black borders around the videos to make them come out 16:9. Edit Preferences. Here are the settings I recommend. Most are the defaults, and we'll only describe those you might want to change. For the others, consult the online User's Guide. The General tab for Preferences. Maximum undo levels. That's 50 is probably too high. That might be a default. I would say 10 is probably enough. What that is how many undos you can do after editing. So if you make a mistake and then you do 9 edits after the mistake and you want to go back to the mistake, this will let you go back 10 levels using that Control Z to undo the last command. Normally you set it to 30 frames per second NTSC. That's a standard video format. And when you do NTSC, you should do yes here. Show sound waveform in the timeline. What that does, it shows this, and that's very useful for locating words or phrases when you're trying to edit a video. Now, editing, it's a little too squeezed up here. There's 2 ways to stretch it. You can stretch it with the controls here by just hitting plus. While this screen is open, this has no effect. But what this does, if you click the plus, it will stretch the display to spread the audio display further apart so you can see the words better. And you can also just drag this pointer to stretch it or to compress it. When it doesn't fit on the window because you've stretched it, you can scroll with the scroll bars down here. Play audio while scrubbing in the timeline. If you check this, when you drag the progress point back and forth, you will hear the audio as you drag. I don't find that terribly useful. I just go by the picture and then play the audio to determine the audio. But if you want to do that, you can check this box and you will hear sounds as you drag it back and forth. Enable continuous thumbnails makes it easier to edit. Again, most of these are the defaults. Shadow files, Cyberlink recommends that you check this box. These are hidden files. You won't see them unless you enable displaying of hidden files. A lot of these I don't bother to change, and I don't really know what they do, but again, look at the online User's Guide. Audio delete temporary files every 30 days. Cyberlink creates temporary files as you're editing and keeps them for 30 days unless you change this number. And on most systems, this doesn't take up enough space to worry about, so leave the default. Internet, you do want to check for updates. Again, most of these are defaults, and I would leave them checked. Let's go to editing. Switch to movie mode. if you have this switch to movie mode, as soon as you start to play a selected clip, it unselects the clip. If you click the box above, return to beginning of video after preview. If it was playing a selected clip, it'll return to the beginning of the clip. If it was playing an entire video, it will return to the beginning of that video. Enable snap to clips on timeline. If this is checked, clips will snap to the boundaries of other clips as you move them around on the timeline. Enlarge timeline scale for audio track. This stretches the timeline display to make it easier to locate things using the audio waveform. You don't really need to select this option because you can easily stretch the waveform when you need to using the controls at the bottom left corner of the timeline. I don't bother to ever reverse the timeline track order. Duration of image files. When you bring a photo file down and insert it in your video, it will be displayed for this amount of time within your video. I set it to 30 seconds because it gives me plenty of time to narrate, and you can always clip off the unused part of the display of the image if your narration is shorter. It's easier to clip off the unused part of an image display than it is to stretch the image display if you find out it's too short for the narration. The others I don't worry about. I don't really use the titles provided by PowerDirector. I don't use effects. If you use those, again, that's how long they will be displayed and how long you have to narrate. The hotkeys, we'll discuss those in a later video. There are hotkeys provided by PowerDirector, and you can change them if you need to. And here they are. And there's all different categories of them, and you can look at what they do. I don't typically use the hotkeys other than the Control Z to back up through an edit, or the Control X and Control C and Control V that you use for copying and pasting things. And I don't really use those very much. I usually drag things around to move them and copy them, and use the delete key to delete them. I don't usually use the Windows hotkeys, which these default to. The File menu. The Import folder is the folder where PowerDirector first looks when you use the import command to import a file. I don't use the import command to import files. I drag the files onto the window for PowerDirector. But if you do start using the import command, you can collect the files you'll be working with in a folder and define that folder as your input folder. And you can browse and select your input folder. Then PowerDirector will first look in that folder and then give you the chance to say which other folder you might want to look in. But again, I don't use the import command. Now, export is where it will save produced videos. I suggest you create one on the desktop and give some name to it that you can easily recognize, which is what I did. And then each time you use a lot of the different commands to create, like the voiceover room and things like that, where it generates files, they will be placed in the project folder and in the media room while you're editing. But again, those things will be discussed later when we talk about the commands. Captured videos. When you capture a video, that's the name it will put on the file. And again, that file will be created in that export folder that you've defined. And the default name's capture, and that's fine. If you want to call it something else, you can. And then if you generate a snapshot by clicking the camera icon in the editor, it will put this name on each snapshot file, and it'll put a number after it when you do additional snapshots. Same with the capture, it'll put numbers after it too. So you can capture a bunch of times and they'll all be numbered. And this is where it puts the snapshots. And that says put the snapshots in the clipboard, all these other places, but I just put the snapshots into a file. And again, they go into this export folder here. Display, I think these pretty much all the defaults. Snap to reference lines. If you tell it you want grid lines, which I don't, It will let you organize objects in a complicated video display where you've got several different things being displayed. It'll let you snap them to reference lines so they're organized a little more neatly. The TV safe zone puts a dotted outline around the part of the video that you know will show on a regular TV if you play the video on a regular TV. Again, the grid lines, you can put them on or not. They won't show in the video, but they help you organize the layout on your videos. Hardware acceleration. You could start by enabling hardware decoding. If you have any kind of problem generating videos that are all playable, I would turn this off and use the software decoding. But normally I would use this because it's faster. Optimization is a one-shot thing. Each time you click it, it does it. You can read what it says, and probably you want to click it the first time you edit a video, maybe every week or two, in case there are changes to the system. Project. I don't really use the recently used projects. You can show a list of them and then pick from them, but I don't really do that, so I don't worry about what number to put there. I do not want to automatically load the last project when I open PowerDirector. I typically open PowerDirector and create a new project, but if you tend to want to load the last project that you saved, then you can click that and it will do that when you open it up. Automatically load sample clips. PowerDirector's got a bunch of bells and whistles, I'd call them, that load when you click this box, and I don't want them, so I don't check it. Autosave project. This is something that's important. You want to make sure it's checked, and you want to save it reasonably often. So what it does, it automatically saves the project, and now it's every 5 minutes. So that if you make a catastrophic error editing and you don't notice it for a few minutes, then you can open the automatically saved project file for 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, or whatever you want. So you can go back in time to get out of errors that you may have introduced into your editing. And you can select where you want those backup files to be saved. I put them on my external hard drives as a more safety. You can put them anywhere you want them, and you can browse and select. So again, automatically saves the whole project every 5 minutes. Now, the one thing you want to remember on those saved projects is they'll only open correctly if you never delete any of the files or move any of the files you use to construct the video. If any of them have been moved, the project will not load correctly when you try to restore the saved project. So don't delete any files that you're working with until you're totally through with the video, because you can't use the saved project if you've deleted any of the old files. Produce. Well, reduce video noise. I would check it. If you want to research it and have any sort of problems with this, then don't check it. I do generate H.264 files. The SVRT may cause problems. So if you don't have any trouble producing your videos, then maybe checking it'll make them go slightly faster. Cyberlink recommends you do not check this one. You can research in the online help to see what it does, but Cyberlink says don't check this, so I will pass that along. I don't use WMV files, so I don't care whether it uses a speed mode or not. If you check this one, when you produce a file, it'll automatically copy it into the media room. If you typically produce a file and then you want to edit that file to produce another file, then it'd be a good idea to check it, but that's not typically how I operate, so I don't check it. If I want to bring the file in and edit it again, I just go get it from the file I've saved it in and just drag it in again. Capture. Add captured files to the media library. Yes, that's things like the voiceover room stuff, or the freeze frame option generates a captured photo. There's various things that generate files while you're editing, and they will go in the media library if you check here. It turns out if you do want to check this one, because you'll find that if you don't check that one and use the voiceover room several times, it's going to create another track in your timeline each time you use it. Confirmation, there's a few prompts that appear in PowerDirector where they'll warn you of something or tell you something, and they'll give you the option. It says, quit showing me this message. And if you check several of those, then those messages will be hidden in the future unless you reset them, and then they'll all start appearing again. Director Zone, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about the cloud. You can look up what those do. Improvement program. You can participate in it or not. It'll send some information to PowerDirector if you decide you want to participate in that. Your choice. Okay, those are the preferences. If you enjoyed this Tom's Tech Notes video, please like it and leave a comment. To watch my other videos or to read many computer help articles, please visit my YouTube channel or my website at the URLs shown here. There are links in the video description. When thumbnails appear, click the one at upper left to watch other videos in this playlist. Click at lower left to watch a video specially recommended for you. Click my photo to visit the Tom's Tech Notes channel. To subscribe, click the red button. If you don't see the red button, hover over my photo to show it.